the last presentation.
Wonder if we should do a door prize to get everybody in here. All right, y'all come on. We're going to do a door prize. Yes. Get your red ticket out. We got some good goodies up here.
Ticket 493762.
No, mine's 4-3. Everything but 4-3.
7622.
Now, we have Miss Kelly Cahill. She is the registered nurse and community educator with Lower Cape Fear Life Care, and she's going to share some ABCs of dementia and the road to hospice for us. Thank you, Kelly.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting Lower Cape Fear Life Care to be a part of your church community this morning. We certainly thank everybody that invited us. It's a hard act to follow Jason Clam, but I just want to let you know I'm his older sister. I've been at Lower Cape Fear Life Care for 30 years to his 23. So I think I even did his orientation back when we were very, very young. But anyway, in looking at the PowerPoint that was provided today, it's not the one that I normally do. So I do both of these PowerPoints quite frequently, so we'll be able to wing it. Who does not have a handout that would like one? Is there anybody that does not have the normal versus not normal aging? Everybody good on that? Okay, like Candace said, my name is Kelly Cahill. I've been a registered nurse for about 44 years. I started off in kindergarten, and I have progressed. I woke up today, and I could tell how humid it was outside by this. So I was like, oh my goodness, get to have curly hair today. So if you would look at your information that I have passed out. It's called normal aging versus not normal aging. And it is amazing how many of my friends that are in their 60s and 70s will have one moment where they forget something and they think, I don't know what happened to our microphone. Can you still hear? Oh, okay. They'll say, I'm not sure. I think I might be getting dementia. I forgot something or something. So we're going to go over that and make sure that we're all on the right page and we're all doing the right thing. Okay? Please stop, ask questions if you have any questions. Okay, the first one with normal aging is can't recall a word, but I can describe the word to get it to pop up. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you all true stories today of life experiences. What is the name? I can't think of it. It's that red thing at the end of my cul-de-sac, and it's octagon shaped, and it has white writing on it, and it's on a pole. What is that? Stop sign, right? So a lot of times things pop into our mind at 2 a.m, and we go, that was the word I was looking for. Or it's an hour later and you go, that was the word I'm looking for. So that's pretty normal stuff. Now, my dad did have me in a kind of a situation a few weeks ago. My dad is 92. He lives alone. My mother just died. And he does everything. He goes from morning till night, cleans, washes, grocery shops, cooks, does everything. So he calls me Kelly Ann. So he lives in Michigan, and we talk twice a week, and he says, Kelly Ann, I said, what did you do Friday, Dad? He said, Kelly Ann, you know what I did? That lady came into the house, and she started singing. And I can't remember her name, but when she stops singing, I know that I'm done cleaning the house for the day. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to take a flight up to Michigan. This is really, really bad. And I go, Dad, does this lady like come to your house all the time? He says, yeah, every Friday morning. He said, your sister-in-law actually is friends with her, and she did something, and the lady sings to me. Well, it turned out the lady was Alexa. So my sister-in-law programmed all his favorite songs, and when he hits the button, Alexa starts, and then he knows to start cleaning the house, and when Alexa is done singing, he's done for the day. But that stumped me, and that took me a while to figure out who the heck he was talking about, okay? We need to give people more time to process information, and we need to go a little bit slower. So they consider elderly people over the age of 65. How many of us sitting here are over the age of 65? Okay, so I need a little bit more time to process things. Do any of you know my children, Michael and Zachary? Okay, I only talk about them if I know that nobody knows them. Okay, Michael and Zachary are 33 and 35, the joy of my life and the gray in my hair, and I call them fast talkers. They talk so fast to me, and they mumble. They don't know how to enunciate words. And they always talk to me behind my back as they're going for the free food in my refrigerator, right? So they're doing this, and I'm like going, what the heck? So I'll say, Michael, can you repeat what you just said? You are so old, Mom. You need to get your hearing checked. Okay. Zach, can you repeat what you just said? Just forget it, Mom. He goes, you're just so old. Yeah, I am getting old, and it's taken me a little bit longer to process what you're saying. But on the other hand, slow down and talk a little bit slower and enunciate your words. So if anybody has fast talkers in your life, like grandchildren or neighbors, just remember, we're the ones that are okay. They're the ones that need a little help. Okay, slower to think. Processing information, slower to pull out our answers. We have to remember that our brain is full of packed tubules. And every time we say something, it has to go through all these tubules, right? And so it takes us a little bit longer to process and figure out what an answer is. Okay, so that is totally, totally normal. My favorite is slower to do things. I'll tell you a story. When I was a nurse in my early 20s, I lived 10 minutes away from the hospital, and we did 8-hour shifts. At that time, in my early 20s, I could get up at 6 in the morning, take a shower, do my hair, get ready, eat a Pop-Tart, warm up the car in Michigan, maybe scrape the window shields, and get to work and punch in before 7 o'clock. Okay? Time to task. just like that. Okay, now I'm in my 60s. I now have to take my outfit out the night before, okay? Put out my jewelry, everything, so I don't have to make decisions in the morning. I now get up 2 hours early before work starts to allow plenty of time. Now, in the old days, I could stand and get dressed. Now I have to sit on my bed. I have to sit on my bed to button my shirt, sit on my bed to put my socks on, sit on my bed to put my shoes on, and God forbid I have to lace them up in any way. But what I'm saying is everything takes a little bit longer. In your life, what do you see as taking a little bit longer to do? Everything, right? Okay, so last week I was at a function and we were doing this normal aging, and this lady said, I notice it takes me twice as long to go grocery shopping now because I pause at every aisle. I don't know if I should go down it or not. I don't know what I really want, even though I have my sticky note in front of me. I start looking at all the names of everything, and then my husband will say, where have you been? I've been worried sick about you. Well, I told you I was going grocery shopping. So we know as we get older, same thing with my husband. He's not here. I can talk about him. He takes a really, really, really long time to cut the grass now. He has to pause, take breaks, watch a little bit of TV in the garage, sit down, have some water, go back, do a couple more rows, go back into the garage, go in the house, look for a munchie, whatever it is. It is not like the old days when he was in his 30s and he could cut our grass in 20 minutes. So don't beat yourself up. Just know that it does take us a little bit longer as we get older. We may hesitate more before responding. Okay? That is totally normal. We may pause longer. We sometimes look at the ceiling to give us an answer. How many times have you asked somebody a question and they look up because they're trying to pull from their memory bank? The ceiling does not give us answers. It just allows us a little bit more of a pause before we go ahead and say something. More likely to look before we leap. That kind of means as we get older, it's hard to make a snap decision. So in my younger days, if the weatherman said 99% chance of rain, I would get my umbrella, get my raincoat, throw it in the back seat of the car, and it would be there till my car was sold. Now, when I look at the weatherman and on the TV show, he says 99% chance of rain, I look outside, like right now I'm looking straight out. It is sunny, bright, Carolina blue skies. But wait a second. The weatherman said it's going to rain today. Should I take my umbrella or not? Should I put my raincoat in the car to be safe or not? What should I do? And I cannot make that snap decision anymore. Has that happened to anybody? Oh, it's so nice to be with a normal crowd. Okay. Whew. We'll know the person, but not remember their name right away. Okay. So poor Kelly has brand new neighbors on each side of me in the past 2 years. And each household is full of people with lots of names. We have a mail delivery lady that comes the earliest 8 p.m. at night. It's usually more in the 9 or 9:30 you'll hear her truck going around the cul-de-sac. But when she does come about 8 o'clock, our neighbors all come down their driveways at the same time, and we all say hello to each other. So Emily, to my right, says, "Hi, Kelly, how you doing?" And I say, "Hi, how are you?" Because I can't remember Emily's name. So I walk down my driveway, I get my mail, And as I'm coming back up the driveway, Emily. Bye, Emily. Have a good evening. That happens a lot. You could have a sticker on your shirt. Hello, my name is Kelly. And I'm reading it. And 5 minutes later, I look at you and I go, what did her sticker say? I mean, that just happens. But being normal is you're able to remember that name at some part of your day. Okay? And it may be at 2 a.m. That's right. That was Susan. May pause when finding a word. We talked about this a little bit. A lot of uhs, those kind of things. Perfectly normal. New data reminds me of old data. So my new little neighbor girl comes over and they have a new puppy. And she is all excited and rings my doorbell, and I look at the camera, and I'm like, what does the little girl want from me? I'm like Jason. I only like my own kids. No, I'm just kidding. I babysit my neighborhood. And she's like, Miss Kelly, look at my new puppy. So I'm like, oh, my gosh. You should have seen me when I got my first puppy. It was black and it had little white paws, and his name was Pirate, and Pirate would eat tennis shoes. And then I go, this is not about me. This is about my little neighbor girl and her puppy. That is huge, that you can stop yourself and revert back to what the original conversation was about and not make it about me. How many of you in this audience are normally aging? Okay, oh, I'm so happy. Everybody's hand went up. Now, I'm going to tell you a little trick. We have files in our brain. Does everybody know what a manila folder looks like? Okay, so I went to the high school. The health OC teacher said, Kelly, we'd like you to do a little presentation on the brain. So I asked the 12th graders, does everybody know what a manila folder is? And they got their phones out and they're Googling it to find out what the picture looks like, okay? And then I trick them again and I say, hanging files. You know those green ones with the metal and it goes in your cabinet? There they are, texting again. What the heck is a hanging file? Because 12th graders are clueless about a file cabinet. It's just like our brain. As we get older, we can only have so many files open at the same time. When I'm in my 20s and 30s and maybe 40s, I can have 5 to 7 files open at the same time. Let's bring Mike and Zach back into the story. They come up my back steps. Hey, Mom. Oh, I understood that one. They go in the refrigerator. They're on the phone. They're texting. They're turning the water on. They're going in my family room. They're turning the TV on. They're walking all over. They're multitasking galore. Okay? They have that ability because of how old they are. Now, let's move forward to me. If I have 5 or 7 files open at my age, how do you think I'm going to feel when I have to multitask 5 or 7 things at the same time? What do you think you feel like when you're overwhelmed? Frustrated? Anxious? Kind of kicking yourself in the butt going, why can't I do this? Okay? You might even get a little emotional. Maybe the tears are coming because you're so frustrated and you don't know where to stop. That happened to me a few weeks ago. I took 4 days off of work, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I came back. The mailbox is this full. The emails are over 100. There's 1 million messages on the phone. As the nurse educator, people are, putting messages, can you speak at this time, at this day? And there was a bunch of papers on my desk that weren't there when I left. And I got so overwhelmed because I did not know where to start. It was like, what do I do? What do I do? And I had to say, Kelly, you teach this class, close some of your files and just concentrate on time-sensitive material, meaning this is due tomorrow. Let's start on that task first. So as we get older, how many files do you think somebody over the age of 60 can have open at the same time? 1 to 2. 1 to 2. So when we get too many open, we get flustered, we just get mad with ourselves, we can't start on a task, we don't know what to do, okay? So that's my story about normal aging. Let's get to the other side, okay? Not normal aging. So if somebody in your life or yourself or a neighbor or church friend is experiencing some of these things, they may have the beginning or intermediate signs of some type of dementia. And I want to let you know that the little feather at the upper right portion of your handout is a guideline from Teepa Snow. Teepa Snow is the guru on types of dementia. She lives in North Carolina. She's an international speaker. And these are some of her materials that are tried, true, and tested. So I want to make sure we give her credit for that. At the very bottom is her name. Look up some of her YouTube videos. They're only 3 to 4 minutes, and then you have to pay when they're longer. So just look at the little 3 or 4 minute ones, but it's a wealth of information. Okay, not normal aging. Unable to think the same. So somebody living with dementia is not going to think the same as somebody who's normally aging. So how many of you have a flat top kitchen stove? Most of us do. Very rarely is there gas stoves down here in the South. So I have a flat top, and I'm going to boil some pasta. What do I need to do to start boiling pasta? Put my water in the pot, and then I need to turn on the knob, right? Okay. When I turn the knob on to boil my pasta, what color do the coils become? Red. What does that mean? Hot. Okay. So the pasta's boiling. It's all done. I turn the knob off. And what color are the coils? Red. And then what color do they go to? Right, they kind of dim down, right? Maybe a little orangey, down, 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 and then they're black. But what pops up on your stove? The hot surface button, right? It's reminding you that even though the coils are black, that surface is still hot. If I'm living with a type of dementia, that means absolutely nothing to me. Zero. So I'm going to go over to that stove, and I'm going to put my fingers on it, and I'm going to burn my fingers, and I'm going to start screaming because I just touched a hot stove. Who else does things like that? Kids, right? So as a parent, we tell our little 3- and 4-year-olds, don't touch. Hot. It's going to burn you. And as soon as you turn away, what do? Ah! Right? They start screaming, it's hot. So again, some of that conversion as dementia progresses, it's more childlike behaviors, okay? That is normal for them. Unable to do as before. In my nursing career, I've worked in a lot of memory care units. I've worked a lot of oncology and palliative care and so forth. And what I notice is that people who start having some signs of dementia have a very hard time regulating the water in the shower. So it's very difficult to turn both knobs on and start testing like you and I would. So what may happen is they go ahead and they turn all the cold water on, and they walk right into the shower and they start screaming because it's ice cold. Or they turn on the hot water and they walk into the shower and scream because they're getting scalded. It's very difficult for the brain to figure out to do the two knobs at the same time and get the water temperature where you want it. Another thing, it's very difficult for somebody living with dementia to know how to turn off those knobs. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, they don't have that cognitive ability. So they may step out of the shower and they just go about their business, and the caregiver is screaming and yelling and saying, "We're on a water shortage, turn off the water." They don't remember how to do it. The second thing I've noticed as a registered nurse is as people get older and their cognitive abilities change, they forget how to tie their shoes. Now, what company out there is making billions of dollars right now for people? Skechers, right? How creative was that? Not only does it have memory foam, but it has fake little ties. Do you think I own a pair in every color? You better believe it, right? It's got the fake ties. It looks like I laced my shoes, but all I had to do is step into them. Okay? It's very difficult. What we find with caregivers is they get a little bit aggravated because maybe their wife last week could tie her tennis shoes, and this week she can't remember. And the caregiver may get upset and say, "Are you manipulating me? Because you did this last week and now you can't do it." Some days you can, and some days you can't. So we have to remember that and practice patience. Unable to get started on a task. Think about how many components there are to make a bowl of cereal. Okay? So this morning, I take out my cereal, and where is our cereal stored? Maybe. Could be in the Lazy Susan on the bottom. It could be up in a cupboard. It could be in the pantry. It could be on top of the refrigerator. It could be on my kitchen table. Then I need to get my bowl. Could be in one of many cupboards. Then I need to get my spoon. My spoon is in another drawer. I put everything on the table. Oh, I need some milk. So I go to the refrigerator and get my milk. Oh, I'm having Rice Krispies. My Snap, Crackle, Pop needs a little bit of flavor. So I need to find the sugar. Where's the sugar at? My grandmother would say, in the sugar bowl on the kitchen table. That's not where I put my sugar. It's above the coffee pot cupboard. Some people leave their sugar in the pantry. We're all different. But since I'm having Rice Krispies, I need a little bit more flavor, so I'm going to have a banana. Can I remember how to peel my banana? And once I've peeled it, what utensil am I going to need to cut it into slices? A butter knife or knife. So I put everything out on my kitchen table, and then I say, "What now?" And my caregiver may come into the kitchen and say, "What's wrong with you? Don't you know how to make your cereal?" No, I don't. I don't know how to make it today. I can't get started on the task of pouring the cereal, pouring the milk, putting the sugar, cutting my banana, okay? It's a very difficult thing. What we take for granted every day is a challenge for many people, okay? Unable to get started on a task. We'll get stuck in a moment of time. People who get stuck in a moment of time have a hard time moving forward. So there may be a snag in the loop of the carpeting in the family room. and they become so obsessed with that they get stuck in that moment. They can't move forward. Why is that snag there? 5 minutes later. Did you fix the snag? 5 minutes later. What are you going to do about that snag? 5 minutes later. Why is it still there? What are you going to do about it? In nursing home arenas, and I go out to plenty of nursing homes, I hear the same thing. What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What time is it? What time is it? What day is it? What day is it? So they get stuck and they can't get off of it. Our job as caregivers is to deflect and get them onto something else. So if somebody is asking me repeatedly every 5 minutes, what day is today? I'm going to say, today is Saturday, November 9th. Let's walk over here and look at this great new birdhouse that they put outside. And you get that brain off the track that they're on, okay? So you want to get them to another thing. Don't ask them, do you want to go see the new birdhouse? Say, let's go look at, okay? Unable to think things out is kind of like getting started on a task. Think about how many steps it takes to do a load of laundry. Just take a wild guess. Normal load of laundry. How many steps? 3, 4, 20, 5. Okay, let's think about this. You got to separate your clothing into whites and darks. Most of us do that. We have to look at that washing machine. Do I have a small load, a medium load, or a large load? And I'm going to have to turn the button. Is it a light wash, a medium wash, a heavy wash? Do I want the water to be warm, warm, cold, cold, warm, cold? Do I want fabric softener? Do I have liquid detergent? There are so many steps involved in doing a load of wash. Now, when I used to work the midnight shift at the hospital, my husband washed everything together. That's when we wore white uniforms and white nylons. That's how old I am, okay? And they turned green or pink. And I said, please do not do the white laundry anymore. And he said, who looks at you on the night shift anyway? And I'm kind of like, are you kidding me? Patients are up all night. They can see that I have green hues on my stuff. So we just want to make sure that we know that sometimes it just takes a lot to think things out. Unable to successfully place who this person is. It's a little bit different from remembering a name. The biggest heartache I've ever seen, I'm getting emotional, is the day a daughter comes to visit the mom and the mom doesn't know who the daughter is. And the daughter's picture is right next to the mom's bed. And the person living with dementia starts screaming and says, get out of here. Who are you? Help, help. There's somebody in my room. And the daughter starts crying and we have to console them because that person no longer recognizes us. That's a hard thing. That memory is lost. Words will not come to this person living with dementia, even if you use clues or cues or signs or anything like that. So if I said to my mom, do you want to drink a water? She's going to look at me and going, who's that lady doing weird things, right? I may say to my dad, are you cold? Do you want a sweater? And he's looking at me like, what is she acting? Like a comedian? Is she being a Jason? I mean, come on. So we have to remember that even though we're using cues or clues, it might not process and they won't remember that. confused between the past and present. True story. Many years ago, we had a gentleman who had retired from the banking industry, been retired for years and years and years. And his wife came down, they had a 2-story house, came down, and he was sitting in his suit and his tie, and he was waiting for somebody to take him to work because he had to be at the bank. He had to open the bank. Our social worker happened to be making a visit that day. And the caregiver was yelling at the person sitting on the couch in their suit with the finger saying, "You are retired. You don't work anymore. Now go upstairs and get changed." Thankfully, our social worker intervened and took the wife aside and said, to him, it's very real. How do you handle it? You say, "Honey, thankfully the bank is closed today. It's a holiday. So you can go back upstairs and just wear your casual clothes." Okay? What we did as their dementia progressed, we knew that he loved financial things. So what we did, got a calculator. We asked all of our staff to save all their receipts, now CVS receipts. Got him a little ledger book. All this is under $5. And we had him go over all the receipts to make sure that we got our right money back. He could use the calculator. He was productive, and his wife was able to actually do something for an hour, hour and a half while he was busy using his calculator. It's things like that that as caregivers, think about what they did for a living or what their role was, and how can we help with that. Okay? If you look in the Alzheimer's dementia catalogs, they have all kind of safe things to do for people who had a role in their lifetime working. So a handyman, they have a plastic workbench. The handyman can use the plastic screwdriver, screw in things. We have fidget blankets where you can unzip and buttonholes and all kinds of things. So there are things out there. Use your community resources to get ideas of how we can help you as the caregiver. Personality changes, and so do behaviors. And one of the things is this nice, sweet lady who has taught Bible school for 25 years is now the patient from heck. She is mean. You walk by her and she spits. She pulls your hair. She might trip you. She might pinch you. She can do all kinds of things. But the worst thing is she curses now. And the families are mortified. And they come up to us and they'll say, "My mother was never like that. She would never say a curse word." Well, as healthcare professionals, we understand what's going on in the brain, but families may be so embarrassed by somebody's behavior. Now, you can have the reverse. You could have the father who beat his children, who didn't let them eat, who was a raging alcoholic, and all the kids left at 18 years old. They're like, "We've had enough. We don't want to be around our dad." And now all of a sudden, dad has advanced dementia, and mom calls and says, "Come on, just come and see your dad." And he is the nicest, sweetest man on the face of the earth. And the staff say, "We love your dad. We fight over who's going to get him that day for our assignment. He is the nicest man in the world." And you're thinking, if they only would have known. So you can kind of see the difference between normal aging and not. I have no idea what the next screen is going to bring, but what I want you to do is I want you to turn to the next page about the different types of dementia, and we'll go over those quickly. Dementia, what is it? It's a chemical change in the brain, and it's a structural change in the brain. So cells are shrinking and dying, and once there's cell death, there's no rejuvenation of the brain cells, okay? It's irreversible. It's a condition that does not get better, okay? So it means that some days they know what's going on, and some days they don't. Some days they can, and some days they can't. So again, it's just permanent structures in the brain that are changing. Think of Swiss cheese. Think of one of those brown sponges that you wash your car with so it doesn't scratch, and it has all those holes in it. That's what a brain is starting to look like with advanced dementia. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, just forget it. We're gonna talk about the 4 types. Okay. Remember that dementia is not a mental health disease. So think of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s when we put people in asylums, in psychiatric institutes, because they were acting crazy. Now, with all of our scientific research, we realize that these people actually had some form of dementia. And we've gotten very sophisticated in our knowledge base, okay? So it does not mean they have a mental health condition. It's very real to the person living with dementia. They get frustrated. They know, that they have limitations. They can't think like they used to. They can't do like they used to. And they get frustrated just like the caregiver does. Okay, so the first one, and when you have middle school kids who are looking for community service projects and you ask them to photocopy something, as you can see by your copies, there's some things on the front and back that are upside down. So we thank those students for helping us, but I just want you to know that I am not responsible for that. Okay. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is the most prevalent of the types of dementia that there are. About 60 to 80% of all people in the United States that have dementia have Alzheimer's disease. Think of dementia as a big pop-up umbrella. The word dementia is written on the umbrella, okay? And it is just a group of symptoms. That's all that umbrella means, a group of symptoms. On each spoke of the umbrella is a specific type of dementia. Okay? So we said Alzheimer's is the most prevalent of the dementias. Okay? New details are lost first. So if I showed this gentleman how to tie his shoe this morning and this afternoon he can't remember, it was a new detail that got lost first. Pick up your left hand, touch your left side of your head, and remember this. Learning and language are on the left, and it's lost first. Learning and language, left side, lost first. Recent memory decreases. What did I eat for breakfast this morning? I can't remember. Do you remember the grandkids coming over yesterday? No. Do you remember who your first grade teacher was? Yes, Mrs. Harris. So long-term memory is the last to go. It's the short term that goes first. They may have some problems with language misspeaks, meaning instead of saying watch, they say arm clock. Instead of calling their dog Pirate, they say black furry animal, come here. Okay? So those are language misspeaks. They're very impulsive and they're indecisive. So the doorbell rings, they just open it. Unlock the door, let whoever's on the porch come in. Indecisive. You never, ever ask somebody with Alzheimer's, what do they want for breakfast? You give them two choices. Would you like a Pop-Tart or would you like a banana? Do you want to wear the red sweater or the blue one? Two choices. It's too difficult, and they get overwhelmed when we say, what do you want to wear today? Okay? So keep that in mind. They get lost. They lose track of time. They lose track of place. Has anybody seen a silver alert on the I-40? Okay, it'll say silver alert, and it'll give a little description of the car or whatever. There's a lady right now in Brunswick County that they have a silver alert on. She's in Southport. She got in the car, and she's been driving since yesterday morning, and nobody has spotted her. Okay? So she thought probably that she knew her way to the supermarket and back, and nothing looked familiar, so she kept driving a little further and a little further and a little further. So when I went to bed last night on the news, they had still not located her, but it's all over Facebook to look for this lady who has Alzheimer's disease, okay? Somebody with Alzheimer's may walk around the block every single day for 50 years, and today they walk, and nothing looks familiar. So they walk a little bit further. They can't find their house. They walk a little bit further. And before you know it, they may be in another city. They may be in 3 subdivisions away from their house because nothing resembles their norm. We do see some early onset Alzheimer's, people as young as their 40s and 50s. The disease lasts a long time. People could have it 5, 7, 10 years. It gets progressively worse. It's, when young people get Alzheimer's, I think it hits us a little bit harder than somebody who's in their 90s that, is having a hard time with thinking and doing things. But you will see a progression of their disease about every 6 months or so. You'll see another small decline, another small decline. Lewy body dementia. Does anybody know someone who's had Lewy body dementia? Couple of you. Okay. So this presents at the very beginning of the disease as somebody who trips and falls quite a bit. And the doctor may diagnose them as having Parkinson's disease. Okay? And the family says, you are so clumsy, you can't even walk a straight line in our house. How can you fall over the carpeting in our house? Why are you falling all the time? Okay? So those things happen, and it's because the joints start getting stiffer. So it's actually kind of like a toy soldier walk. Think of it like this. They don't move their arms a lot, and they're just walking, and nothing is happening this way. Okay? So that's one of our cues. They have very soiled shirts. Why? Because they can't bend their wrist to eat or to lift a cup of coffee, so they spill a lot in front of them. Okay, this is another one of the trademark signs. They have visual disturbances. They see things so clearly and can describe them so well that you actually think that that is happening. To them, it is very real. And the worst thing you can do is say, there is nothing there. I don't know what's wrong with you. Just stop it. There's nothing there. We do not want to do that. We want to acknowledge that they're seeing something, and we want to take action. So in my experience, it would be there's somebody underneath the bed that's going to try to kill me after you leave. There's a bear behind the door that has a machete. There is ants all over my food, and I'm not going to eat it. That was a real big one in the nursing homes. How come you're not eating, Mrs. Harris? Because there's ants all over my food. So we educate the nursing assistants in facilities to say, let me get those ants off. And they brush them off, and they say, all the ants are gone now. And that person, 9 times out of 10, will say, you missed one, it's right over there. And then we say, brush it off again, because it's real. If it's somebody under the bed, if it's somebody behind a door, you chase them out of the room and say, goodbye, bear, get out of here. We don't want you anymore. And you open the door and you say, out, and then you close the door. Mrs. Harris, the bear is gone. He's not coming back. Okay? So it's things like that, to acknowledge what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what their delusions are, and so forth. They are very, very rigid, and so taking care of them can be very difficult, from dressing them because they can't move their limbs easily. So we have to be very, very patient with that. Insomnia is huge. People with Lewy body dementia sleep maybe 4-5 hours a day. Their caregivers are exhausted. Okay, because they're up and about, they're always doing things, and they have a hard time staying asleep. It's a very hard population for medication. You really have to have an expert physician who knows how to get symptoms under control with Lewy body dementia. They have nightmares. They may scream. They tend to have nightmares about snake pits, about the furry, hairy, big animals that are trying to get them. And they may wake you up out of a sound sleep because they really feel like they just fell into a snake pit. And I'm using examples of people that I have taken care of in my nursing career. Fluctuation in abilities. Again, some days they can. Some days they can't. Okay? Okay, let's go on to vascular. Vascular means there's an interruption of blood flow and oxygen to the brain, and it's causing little mini strokes to happen. And those little mini strokes affect their ability to think in a normal fashion. So because it comes and goes, the little mini strokes, the interruption of blood and oxygen supply, they can go weeks of being absolutely perfect in every way, and they can have that 1 week that is just horrible. Now, what week do you think they have the doctor's appointment on? The 3 weeks that they're doing great. And the doctor will say to the daughter, I don't know what you're talking about. Your dad seems fine to me. Okay? But you're seeing that other week where things are just really like this, topsy-turvy. They really can bounce back quickly from having bad days. They do have emotional shifts, so they may cry a lot or they may laugh a lot. So you may trip and fall, and they start laughing and laughing and laughing, and it's uncontrollable. Sometimes you can't even console this person if they're crying a lot. And it's really, really sad to see somebody sitting there crying for hours about their loss, and they just can't be consoled. Sometimes you can substitute and give them a baby doll or a furry animal to hold and stroke, and sometimes they can self-soothe themselves and make it better. Their energy shifts. They can go, 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 and then the next week they are in that recliner. They're not getting up. They're not doing anything, okay? So you can just see the ebbs and flows of that. And it's very, very unpredictable. It just depends on how many strokes they're having and how good their vascular system is working. The last one to talk about, and like I said, we're talking about the 4 major types, the most common types of dementia, is frontal temporal. So when we say frontal temporal, if you do this with your hands, kind of like spider web, and you put it right like this, you've got some of the front of the brain and you've got some of the side of the brain. So those 2 parts are affected. These are people who have no filter. True story. I'm in Brunswick County. I'm at a facility, and all the residents are in a semicircle in the activity room. They're getting ready to start whatever activity, and I'm coming to do a presentation to the nurses at the facility. And so the person leading me to the conference room walks in front of this group in the semicircle, and this man says to the lady that's walking me, "Boy, you have a big fat butt," but didn't say butt, used the A word. And she said, "I know I do, and my husband loves it," and laughed it off because she learned if you get defensive and you start arguing with them because their filter is gone, you're going to be worse off. I walked backward like this. I'm like, I don't want him saying anything about me. Not today. I don't want any fat butt jokes. Very apathetic to the surroundings. I don't care if my grandkids come over. I don't care about my vegetable garden. I don't care that Wheel of Fortune is on. I don't care that Alex Trebek is no longer on Jeopardy. So things that they once loved, they no longer enjoy. Very apathetic to their surroundings. In fact, they have a pretty flat affect. You just don't know what they're thinking or feeling because they don't have expressions on their face. You may see a person like this at the grocery store. So a couple weeks ago, there was somebody in the grocery store, and the gentleman was kind of acting out and being very rude to those in their carts around him. And he was saying, "Hey, Thelma, look at that lady over there. Look at that nose she has. Man, is that a big nose." This is somebody that I would guesstimate has this type of dementia. They lose that filter. These are also people who have problems doing anything in a sequence, okay? So if they're dressing themselves, their pants may go on first and their underwear goes over their pants, okay? Hard to count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. January, February, March, April, May. So they have a lot of problems with sequential type of order. First we do this, then we do this, then we do this. These are also the folks that we've all heard about that are very disinhibited. These are the folks that at the facilities may unzip their pants. They may go after a woman in the facility. They may touch her chest. They may touch her butt. But we also have females that do the same to the male gentlemen. There have been times that we have found female patients in a male's room together at a facility. So they can't help it. So we don't want to punish them. In the old days, and I'm talking over 40 years ago when I was first starting nursing, if somebody would have done that, we would have said, "You can go to your room and you're not coming out to play bingo today." That is wrong. You do not unzip your pants. Now we would say, "Mr. Harris, zip up your pants and let's go over here and look at the birdhouse. Let's go over here and get a snack," okay? Because again, they're very disinhibited. Now, we had a lady at, I was at St. James Plantation. We have a 3-part series going on. And she had made a comment that her husband is in assisted living. And every time she goes, he gets very, very lovey-dovey with her. And he's putting his hands all over his wife. And he wants to go to bed with her. And he's acting like a teenager. And she said, he just paws me, and he's like, his hands are all over me. And she said, I'll slap his hand, and I'll say, "Stop it, stop it. You know, you don't do that to your wife." And we talked after that probably isn't the best way to get him to stop. You know, we definitely want to substitute something else instead of that kind of behavior. But she's starting to dread going to visit her husband because he acts like that. And he does have this type of dementia, okay? So definitely No. They also have problems with speech and language, a lot of misspeaks, and so forth. I don't know what the next slide is, but we're coming to the very end. I'm not going to go through the hospice criteria. That's not what today is about. Today is just educating you about normal aging and not normal aging, and then the 4 most common types of dementia, so you can be more aware. Try not to avoid people living with dementia. One of our social workers says somebody at her church is living with dementia and likes to talk randomly about all kinds of things. And she kind of makes a beeline so she doesn't have to be there for a half an hour. And she said, and I realized that's not fair at all. So now she engages with that person and is very purposeful in being with him and knowing that she's going to be a little late getting out of church because this person is hungry to talk to somebody. So I hope that kind of clarifies the normal and not. And I hope that, if you have somebody living with dementia, we have our Memory Partners program at no cost whatsoever. We've got resources all around here. Area Agency of Aging works very close with us. And anything you might need, use the resources in our communities. We've got all kinds of tables set up here to help meet your needs and be an excellent caregiver. So on that note, I'm going to call it a morning and say it's been a pleasure being here and inviting us out to come.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And I want to piggyback on what Kelly said. Please know there is support out there. Reach out to me, and I can connect you with any of these folks in the room. Please get my card before you leave. I want to thank the church. If you have a teal shirt on, stand up. You are the best. Thank y'all so much for making this happen. This is so important. Thank you, Pastor, and thank y'all so much. We got some door prizes we're going to give away. Got some good things up here before y'all leave. Peyton, you want to come help me? Peyton's going to pass these out. All right. This is, everybody got their red ticket? 7610. 7610. Oh, yay. You just give them whatever. You get a nice cozy blanket. All right. 7616. 7616. Nobody? Going once? All right. We're done. Oh, is it you? No. Oh, okay. 7643.
7643.
Woo, yes, that's it. You win a nice cozy blanket. And now we've got this beautiful moms. I was making sure it was real too. You do have to water that. That's normal aging. You were paying attention. 7631. Yay! 7631. All right. 7620. Woo. The lady on the front row right here, she won. She can win. Yeah, whatever you choose. 7632. 7632. Everybody? Okay. 7605. Ooh, that's a nice umbrella. 7635. Oh, Miss Donna. 7603. Ooh, Kate and the lady over there. Okay, thank you, Miss Kelly. 7634. Mr. Pete, yay! Yep, and the little plant goes with it. Seven, 646. Seven, 626. These have $100 bills in them too. So stick around. 7628. 7628. Ooh, awesome. Okay, we have two more. 7608. 7608. Nobody? 7618. Oh! All right, and our last winner. Well, you are all winners today. Love all of you. The last one is 7612. Oh, yay! All right. If you haven't been over to the tables, we're going to stick around for about 10 more minutes. And then I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thank you so much.